Ever get that feeling?
Yeah.
Like your head's telling you one thing,
Yeah.
but your gut's like, not so sure about this.
Well, absolutely. It's like this internal tug of war, you
Yeah.
know?
And it can get even trickier when you're somewhere new.
Yeah.
Like think about our listener who posted on Reddit from Thailand.
Oh.
He met this amazing girl, but things were a little off. And he didn't know whether to trust his gut or just go with his heart, you know?
Yeah, that's a tough spot, especially when you're traveling, trying to find that balance between new adventures and staying safe.
Right. So what was going on in this Reddit post?
I'm curious.
All right, so imagine this. You're backpacking through Southeast Asia, 25 years old.
Okay.
You're in Chiang Mai, and you meet this awesome 22-year-old student.
Nice.
Sparks fly. They spend some amazing hours together. But you have to fly south the next day.
Ah,
That classic travel moment, a little bittersweet.
definitely. So what happened next?
Well, turns out our listener was smitten. He changed his whole travel plan to go back to Chiang Mai before flying home, just to see her again.
Wow. So he went back.
He did. But when he reached out, her responses were vague. Her availability was super limited. And her story about a trip to Doi Inthanon National Park with some foreign exchange students seemed fishy.
I can see where the alarm bells might start ringing. It's like that moment when the excitement fades and you're like, wait a minute, do I really know this person?
Exactly. All these mixed signals, and his gut was screaming, something's not right. So he turned to Reddit, the internet source of wisdom, asking, should I meet up with her again or listen to my intuition?
Oh, the internet loves to weigh in on these things. What did they say?
Oh, the whole spectrum. Some were like, trust your gut, never ignore that inner voice.
Right.
Others were saying, give her the benefit of the doubt. Unexpected things happen, especially for students.
Yeah, it's easy to jump to conclusions, but sometimes there are totally valid explanations we just don't see.
Absolutely. And one commenter even shared their own story about how they missed out on an amazing opportunity because their intuition got the better of them.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Makes you think, right?
Definitely makes you think.
Yeah.
So how do you know when to trust that gut feeling and when to maybe take it with a grain of salt?
That is the million-dollar question. And I think it comes down to really understanding yourself and how your intuition works. But before we get into that, let's go back to those Reddit comments. Was there a middle ground between runaway and blind trust?
Yeah, there was. Many people, even those who said give her another chance, really emphasized meeting in a safe, public place.
No.
Keep it casual. Observe her behavior before making any big decisions.
That makes sense. It's about honoring your safety while still being open-minded.
Right. Acknowledging that gut feeling, but also realizing you could be misinterpreting things.
Exactly. And this is where understanding the culture is so important. Remember, this is Thailand's social norms. Communication styles might be totally different from what our listener is used to.
That's a great point. What might seem like a red flag here could be totally normal somewhere else. So how do we factor that in?
It's like learning a new language, right? You can't just translate word for word. You need the nuances, the unspoken rules, the cultural context that shapes how people talk and act. You got to understand the whole picture, not just the words themselves.
Yeah, that's like being a more mindful traveler. Safe and culturally sensitive.
Absolutely. It's about respecting the people and the culture you're experiencing. But even with all the preparation in the world, things can still get lost in translation. What happens then?
Yeah, good point.
Well, that's where clear communication comes in. And it's not just about speaking the language,
Right.
It's about expressing your intentions clearly, asking questions when you're unsure, and being upfront about your boundaries.
So even with a language barrier, being open and honest can bridge the gap.
Exactly. It's about making a genuine effort to connect, even if it means using gestures or drawing pictures or even those translation apps.
Right.
And remember, sometimes the most powerful communication is nonverbal, body language, facial expressions, tone of voice. They can speak volumes.
That's like they say, actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
But honestly, sometimes even with the best intentions, our own biases can sneak in and change how we see things.
That's so true. We all have our own filters based on our experiences, our culture, our beliefs. It's so important to be aware of those filters and how they might be affecting our judgment.
So being self-aware is key in navigating these tricky situations.
Well,
And speaking of biases, there was this one Reddit comment that really stood out to me.
oh.
This person was super cynical, saying something like, Thailand is the worst place to meet women. Just listen to your gut and get out of there.
Ah, yes, negativity. While it's always good to be cautious, it's so important to avoid generalizations.
Right.
Painting a whole country or culture with that broad brush is not only unfair, but it also reinforces harmful stereotypes.
It's like saying everyone from one place is the same, which is just ridiculous. We can't let one bad experience shape our whole view of a culture.
Exactly. Every situation is unique, every person is different. We need to approach each encounter with an open mind. So while we should be aware of potential risks, we shouldn't let fear or negativity stop us from connecting with people from different cultures.
Finding that balance between caution and open-mindedness. And, as we're talking about this, I'm realizing that a lot of these principles apply to way more than just travel romances.
Absolutely. Starting a new job, building a business relationship, even just meeting someone new at a party, these concepts of trust, intuition, communication, and cultural awareness are important everywhere.
It's like we're building a toolkit for navigating all kinds of relationships, no matter where we are in the world.
Exactly. And one tool I think is super important is setting healthy boundaries.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a new environment and maybe feeling a little vulnerable.
It's about being clear with yourself and others about what you're comfortable with and what you're not. And that goes for all kinds of boundaries. Physical, emotional, even digital.
So it's like having this inner compass that guides you towards healthy interactions.
Exactly. It's not about being closed off or unfriendly. It's about creating a safe and respectful space for yourself so you can really enjoy new experiences.
So whether you're exploring a bustling night market or having coffee with someone new or even venturing into the wilderness like our Reddit friend, staying connected to your intuition and respecting your boundaries is key.
Couldn't agree more. It's about making choices that feel right for you even when you're outside your comfort zone.
I love that. So we've talked about trusting our gut, being mindful of cultural differences, communicating clearly, and setting boundaries. That's a lot to remember. But before we get too overwhelmed, let's circle back to our Reddit friend. He has a plane ticket home and a decision to make. Does he meet this girl one last time or trust his gut and move on? What do you think he should do?
I think it's important to remember there's no right or wrong answer here. This is a really personal decision that only he can make. But the key is to weigh the risks and rewards, trust his instincts, and choose what feels most aligned with his values and priorities.
That's such a good point. Sometimes the best decision is the one that gives you the most peace of mind.
Exactly. And it's important to acknowledge that no matter what he chooses, there might be some what-ifs lingering, but ultimately he needs to trust himself in the process.
Okay, drum roll, please.
Yeah.
What did he actually decide? So what happened? What did he do?
Well, he actually went with his gut.
Oh, wow.
He thanked everyone for the advice, but decided not to meet up with her.
So he chose his intuition even if it meant maybe missing out.
Yeah, it was a tough call. But he mentioned that he just couldn't shake this feeling that something wasn't right.
Right.
And he didn't want to spend his last days in Thailand feeling, uneasy or pressured.
I get that. Makes sense.
Especially traveling solo, your safety and well-being are so important.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. A lot of the comments were actually really supportive of his decision.
Oh, good.
They were like, good for you, listening to your inner voice. And your safety is more important than any date.
I love that. It shows that people are really prioritizing intuition and personal safety.
It's so true. It's like a reminder that we're not alone in these situations.
Yeah, definitely.
And it really highlights the power of online communities, being there for each other, offering support, especially when you're facing a tough decision.
Absolutely. But let's be real for a second. It couldn't have been an easy choice for him.
Right.
He obviously had some level of interest in this girl. And walking away from a potential connection always comes with those what-ifs.
Totally.
Yeah.
Did I make the right call? Could this have been something special?
Exactly.
But sometimes it's better not to know, especially when your intuition is so strong.
I agree. Sometimes the bravest and wisest thing you can do is walk away. Even if it means maybe disappointing someone or potentially missing out. Choosing peace of mind is powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe this will open them up to even more genuine connections in the future.
Yeah, like closing one door to open another, maybe even a better one.
I like that.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into trust, intuition, and intercultural encounters, what's the biggest takeaway you think our listeners should remember?
That's a good one. I think it comes down to trusting yourself. Whether you're traveling, navigating a new relationship, or just making daily choices. That inner voice is there for a reason.
Right.
It's about learning to really listen to those gut feelings and honoring them, even when they take you down an unexpected path.
Beautifully said. And remember, it's not about being perfect or always getting it right. It's about learning from our experiences, the good and the bad.
So true. Sometimes the best lessons come when we choose to walk away, take care of ourselves, and trust that something even better might be just around the corner.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So until next time, listeners, keep exploring, keep trusting, and keep diving deep into the world of human connection.
And remember, even when things are uncertain, your intuition is your guide.
Wise words. Until next time.